closer to my family. I think my family really showed up for me, and I've always loved and appreciated. We've always been a very close knit family, but I think it made me appreciate them even more, the things that they did for me. My bank family here rallied behind me and loved on me and supported me and encouraged me. So, it's not just one thing. I can't just say, one thing. So there was a lot of things, good things, positive things that came out of this journey.
Good morning and welcome back to our Century Check-In podcast brought to you by Century Bank, where we take banking personally. This is the month of October, which rolls around every year, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so we wanted to shed a little light on that topic this time on this episode. And it's a very personal episode to us here at Century Bank. So I'm really excited about this episode. I've been really looking forward to it. We have two of our very own, Miss Donna Sampson and Miss Pam Pierce. They are employees here and they also are breast cancer survivors. So today we're going to talk a little bit about their story, how their stories are vastly different because they are, and, just the things that led up to that, things that they went through, the after part and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start with Miss Donna today. Donna, tell us how long you've been at the bank.
So I've been with Century Bank for 36 years. So we were formerly the Bank of Lucedale. And so 36 years ago, Robert Platt took a chance on me, offered me a part-time teller position. And so I hung in there and learned everything that I could. And now I currently serve as the Vice President and the Mississippi Division Manager. I'm very active in the community. I serve on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, Georgia County Chamber of Commerce, and then I serve on the board for the East Jackson County Fire Department, and then also the Jackson County Sheriff's Department Auxiliary Unit. I serve on the financial board for them.
And that's unique for you because you started out in Jackson County, and then you moved here when the division merged from county to state, and so you have ties to both of our Mississippi communities.
That's right.
Yeah, so you got a lot going on, and you're my boss lady.
That's right.
That's right. Miss Pam, tell us a little bit about you. Miss Pam, you've been with us since, was it July of 21? Is that what you told me?
June of 2021. So I've been here 4 years, but I have a little over 15 years of banking experience. But I've been working for 42 years, so I have 42 years of experience, just not here. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm here because of Donna.
Yeah,
so we go way back. We've been friends for a long time, and so I've been here. I'm working in human resources. I was hired to replace Margaret Havard when she retired.
That's right. And you're our director of HR.
Yes.
Doing a fabulous job. We
Thank
love
you.
it. So today I wanted to start with just the very beginning, the part of y'all's testimony. I think it's so unique and it's so interesting that your paths were, vastly different. So I wanted to start with you, Donna. Tell us exactly when it was and how it was that you came to get your diagnosis.
So in 2023, I just went for my annual checkup, went for a mammogram. They saw something suspicious, decided they wanted to do a biopsy, went in for a biopsy, which turned into a lumpectomy. And the pathology report finding is that I had LCIS, which is lobal carcinoma.
Okay.
And so met back with the surgeon, and he referred me to an oncologist, which was real confusing because LCIS is really not a cancer diagnosis. It's just something that they need to watch.
Okay.
And so met with the oncologist, and my cancer was hormone positive, or the LCIS at that time was hormone positive. So they referred me back to my gynecologist to get off birth control. And so when I went to my gynecologist, she was like, and by that time I had a genetic testing from the oncologist as well, which provided some information. I didn't have the breast cancer gene, but I did have a gene that one of the variants was breast cancer.
Okay.
And
and you do have a family history of cancer, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And so, she was of the opinion that I, maybe needed to have a bilateral mastectomy. And so I was just really confused. Went back to my oncologist, and they did some more testing, and said, if it'll give you a peace of mind, then maybe you should do that. And so I just really didn't have solid answers. And so I went home. My husband and I, Ricky, talked about it, and we talked about going to MD. Was that the place for me? Because just not feeling,
you didn't feel confident in what they were giving you, the answers. Yeah.
Just the piece about it. And so we talked about it that evening, and then I came to work the next day, and Van, our bank president, came in and was checking on me. And so he's like, I think you need to go to MD. And I said, well, Ricky and I talked about that last night. And he said, I want you to go to MD. Encouraged me, to go to MD. And so I went to MD. You can actually, if you can apply on their website, sent all my test results. Within 24 hours, they called me. Within a couple of weeks, I was in their office meeting with their oncologist. They did their own pathology report. And at the time, they thought, it would be the same diagnosis. And so called me back a couple of days later and said, no, you have DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma. And so...
so you actually got a misdiagnosis in the beginning?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And met with their oncologist, their team, went back for another visit, and so they gave me an option. They said, well, we can do another lumpectomy, but you'd have to have reconstructive radiation and be put on hormone blocker for 5 years. And I also had some suspicious activity going on in the other breast, and so said, or you can do a bilateral mastectomy. And so I prayed about it, and so that was the right choice, for me. And so in December 2023, I had a bilateral, mastectomy. And so they were able to get it all, with surgery. So I didn't have to have, chemo or radiation. So,
which was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I was really blessed.
Yeah. So I want to back up real quick because I feel like that's interesting. Maybe some people don't know this. I don't think that I actually knew this until you started going through it. So you don't actually have to have a referral from your doctor to go to MD. You can go online and apply to go there and try to get an appointment yourself and that kind of thing?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think that's great information.
Mm-hmm.
So, Miss Pam, tell us about your journey. Tell us also, too, I want to back up and say you weren't here very long with us before you actually got diagnosed, were you?
No, I wasn't. But first and foremost, I want to say that I couldn't have made it through this journey without the Lord.
That's right.
I mean, He was my strength from day one.
That's right.
But I was changing jobs, and I had left my previous job, and before I came here, I had a week off. So I've always, had regular checkups and everything. So I wanted to make sure that I scheduled some appointments during that week so I wouldn't have to take off later because I didn't want to have to take off after starting a new job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I started here like the next week, and 8 days later, I got a phone call and said, and it just kind of turned everything upside down. And that's when I found out I had breast cancer. And so that kind of started the ball rolling, and everything kind of went so fast. And before I knew it, I found out, I had to have surgery. I needed to have chemo and radiation. And so even though I was concerned about my diagnosis, I was very concerned about having to tell my new employer all this news. So I'm like, oh. So anyway, it worked out.
It worked out good.
It did, and I came in and I told them, and they were very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, once I had surgery, everything just the full treatment started.
Yeah.
So.
So you started chemo right away after you had the surgery.
I did. I mean, I had the surgery about 2 weeks after I had got my diagnosis.
Okay.
And then I had to have that was the lumpectomy, mm-hmm. and then. Soon as I recovered from that, my chemo treatment started, and they were for 6 weeks. Yeah, well, it's every 3 weeks, 6 treatments every 3 weeks is what it was. So they ended around November.
Okay.
And then I started radiation in January, and that was every day for 6 weeks.
Yeah. So yours happened real quick. You didn't have a lot of time to sit on it and take it in.
Everything was kind of like a blur.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was probably because I was concerned about my job. I just wanted to get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And how did you feel about that? I know, we were just getting to know you. I don't really think that you had even had the opportunity to meet every single person before that happened.
And everybody was so, Van especially, and all the employees, they were so, they were incredible. Everybody was compassionate, and they were just very kind, and nobody knew me here but Donna.
Right.
So they didn't have to be that way. So it was very, that was a huge weight off of my shoulders.
Yeah. Well, and we, on our slogan, we do take banking personally, but, in-house and, with our employees, it is a family. And, we do work for great people who really, show that. They don't just say that, they show that. They support our employees, they support us, and all these things that we go through. So let's talk about your treatment process. Tell me how did that go for you? Tell us a little bit about that. I know everybody has their own story about treatment. Like when you started, what were like your first concerns about the treatment process itself?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, everything was, really scary, but when you get started, it's not, it's bad, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was rough, but the fear wasn't there as much because you're so focused on getting through to the next step, and, it's not as bad as the unknown. So, I lost, my taste buds went away. I got neuropathy in my hands. I was very weak. But I was able to get through it with the Lord's help.
Yeah. And what about your hair? Did you?
Well, I was concerned about my hair at the beginning, but I feel, and it did fall out. So, but through the whole thing, I found out that there's a lot worse things that can happen than lose your hair. It'll grow back.
Well, yeah, and it grew back. You got a head full of hair.
It did. Yeah. So, and I went to, there was a hair studio in Jackson that I went, and I got, it was a wig it was made out of real hair. And to be honest, it didn't last the whole time I needed it. So in the end, I wound up getting some from Amazon that was just cheap synthetic wigs, and they worked just as good.
They worked just as good.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Well, so on your treatment path, like Donna said, she got there to MD Anderson and, of course, got re-diagnosed basically, and then was offered, the mastectomy. Was there ever an option for you? Did you opt for chemo, or was that the path that they said you needed to take?
Everything happened so fast. Till that's what they said I needed, and I didn't get second opinions.
Okay.
I didn't look at other options. In hindsight, I probably should have, but I didn't at the time.
Right. So. Okay. And so tell us today, I don't want to skip forward, but today, where are you? You've taken chemo, you've taken radiation.
Yeah, it's been 4 years. I'm still taking a hormone blocker, and every 6 months I have to go get a bone treatment. But they got everything when I had the lumpectomy.
They did?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I still go for regular. I go annually to get mammograms, and I still go to the oncologist every 6 months. But everything's clear.
So in prepping for this episode, I was really trying to read up and see what was out there. So there's, multiple different kinds of therapies. Of course, there's chemo and hormone therapy, drug therapy, immunotherapy. When you say you're taking a treatment for bone density, is that like an immunotherapy? Is that kind of what that is?
Well, my doctor, for one, I'm on a hormone blocker, which one of the side effects is osteoporosis. So it's supposed to help with that. But he also said that it serves as a cancer preventative as well.
Wow.
I didn't know that yet.
I didn't know that either. That's great. Yeah. Donna, tell us a little bit about your decision to have the mastectomy. Did it take you a long time? Did you feel like after that meeting at MD that you truly had a peace about that surgery? That's for a woman, that's a very... I don't want to say radical, but that's a life-changing surgery. Tell us a little bit about how you came to find a peace in that decision.
Part of the story is that years ago I worked at our Escatawpa branch and worked with a lady that had breast cancer, and she did the lumpectomy and the treatments, and then it came back. And so I always, at a young age, I said, if I ever had breast cancer, I think I would opt for a mastectomy and just call it a day. And so that was always in the back of my mind. But just peace, like Pam said, in this journey, I'm closer in my relationship with God, and I'm trying to get emotional, but
that's okay. I got the tissues today.
Yeah.
but he gave me peace, and then the love and support that I had from my family, the community, from my bank family. And like Pam said, Van and Dan were wonderful. When I was 19 years old and I started working at the bank, I thought, well, this is a great job, a great place to work. And it has so much more value now because of where we work and who we work for. The support,
it does.
It's so supportive. Just, just simply calling and asking, periodically checking on me. That goes a long way, and that means a lot.
It really does. And I know, after you came back from MD, and you may not remember this, but we had a meeting, several of us, just, officers. And, that was the thing I think that we came out of there with. We knew that you needed to have that peace about that decision. And that was truly what our prayer was, that we wanted you to find that peace in your decision so you could move forward with certainty.
Yeah.
And I always felt like from the very beginning for you that was an answered prayer, because you always had that peace about your decision.
And I did. Even the day of my surgery, it's back there being prepped, and you're with, a nurse, that's preparing you for the surgery, an hour, 2 hours before your surgery. And so I got to know her a little bit, but right before they wheeled me into the operating room, she leans over and pats me on the shoulder, and she's like, I want you to know you made the right decision. I was exactly where you were 1 year ago.
Wow.
Everything. She said, our cases mimicked each other. And so that was comforting, going in. So
and a confirmation, I feel like.
Oh, yeah,
for
absolutely.
You.
So,
yeah. Well, I was doing some research, just looking online. According to the American Cancer Society, breast cancer is often found in women without symptoms. Like, it's not a symptomatic type of cancer. You'll be walking down the hall, down the street, and you're feeling fine. That's exactly what you were doing.
Right.
And 1 in 8 women in the U.S. Will receive a diagnosis for breast cancer in their lifetime. That was astonishing to me. Yes, knowing y'all personally, there are other people that are close to me that I know personally that have went through that. And I guess after I read that and got to thinking about all the people that I know, but when you read that 1 in 8, that is a lot. That is a ton. So whenever I was thinking on that, prevention, I felt like, what is the key to try to reduce that? So would you say that now, after you're through this journey, that you would encourage people to always, whatever option is available to them for prevention, just to be proactive? Because I feel like that's exactly, how you came to find out and caught it at a stage that you had a positive outcome.
Yeah, that's correct. I encourage everybody to get annual screenings. Mine was a stage 1. So I was thankful that I caught it early and was able to. I think that's the reason I had such a good outcome.
Yeah.
And there's an old saying that it's very true, that if you catch it early, it's almost always treatable.
Yeah.
So, and then advocate for yourself. In my situation, a second opinion made a difference.
Yeah, well, really and truly it did, because had you not gotten that, then you're into the next year at your next annual visit, and we have no idea, what that would have turned out to be. So also, too, I wanted to talk about, and you referred to this a while ago, I want to back up to genetic testing. So tell us how how that came to be. Did your doctor recommend that to you, or was that something that somebody else told you about?
So my oncologist, the first oncologist that I had seen, asked my family history. And so it's a very expensive test, and sometimes your insurance will cover it. But if you have a family history, in my situation, it was fully covered. And so it was very insightful, of the things that I need to pay attention to, because there was 4 variants with my genetic testings that I needed to be, watchful of. So, and I think every lady needs to know what the risk is. Talk to your provider. Ask if you have a history, ask about the genetic testing, find out what your risk is. Is it high, medium, low, low risk, but just be aware. And
on the genetic testing, that's everything. It's not just for the one type of cancer that you're being diagnosed for.
that's great. So one of the variants was colon, with mine was colon cancer. My mom's had colon cancer twice.
Wow. Okay.
And so, so it's very, very, I felt like it was very accurate.
Mm-hmm. And very important for you, I think, more so for you knowing that you had that, in your family history and close, not down the line.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What, Miss Pam, did you ever have genetic testing, or was that something that was offered to you?
I did afterwards, but I didn't really quite understand the results too much. But based on the results, like my daughter and my sister, they're not at risk.
Okay.
So apparently it's not genetic.
Well, that's good. That's good. I want to talk a little bit about your village. We have different people on, and depending on, what the topic is and what their story is, we always want to say that, it takes a village to do anything, to support you, to help you raise your kids, to to do anything in life, to be successful. You always need that support system. So whether it's your family, your work family, your friendships, tell us a little bit about your journey with your support system.
Okay. Well, I have a large village and a very good support system. My husband was wonderful. He went with me to every appointment. He was always very attentive and just right there for every need that I had. But I also have my family and my church family, and now it's my work family. They were always there. They was bringing meals. They were putting. I was getting texts daily with just encouraging words, or little gift bags would show up on our porch with some of my favorite things. I got Amazon packages, a couple from Donna. So that was, that meant a lot.
She is a good gift giver. We do say that.
She is. That meant a lot to have, so much support and love. That was made things much easier to get through some of the hardest days.
Yeah. And you feel like, I guess, I just think you would have a different take on that. Like, that means you always feel like that means a lot to you when somebody thinks of you or recognizes you, but in that stage and in that situation, it just comes to be, it means so much more to you during that time.
It is. Just getting a little card in the mail saying, I'm thinking about you and praying for you. That meant, it was very important, and it made a world of difference. And I'll have to say, I can't get through this without mentioning Margaret. I'll probably cry with this.
No, don't. You'll be okay. Go ahead. So Margaret Havard, that's who you're wanting to talk about, Miss Margaret.
Yes. She postponed her retirement because of this.
So Miss Margaret was our longtime HR director, HR officer, who is loved by every single person I think she's ever come in contact with. And so she was. So like you said, Donna referred you and brought you in because Miss Margaret was nearing retirement and she was getting ready.
Yeah, and I didn't know her. And she postponed that because of all this going on. And she was very gracious about it. And she was very supportive. And she's become one of my dearest friends.
She is, and a prayer warrior. She will pray you through a lot of things.
She was what I needed.
Well, that's wonderful. That's one of the surprising blessings that you got out of this whole journey for you.
Yeah, I love her dearly.
We do.
Yeah.
What about you, Donna?
Same thing, family. For some of you that know my husband, he's an avid hunter, fisherman. I always say, for a redneck, he stepped up. So
he did.
He was great. There was a lot of, it was very humbling because I had to depend on him for things that I couldn't do for myself. And so he wasn't the best hairstylist, but,
he tried.
My hair was clean. So.
He blow dried pretty good.
He did. So he was wonderful. My mom that lives close to me, she took on laundry duties and cleaning the house and, things that I wasn't physically able to do. And so.
And with your journey, you had a lot of travel. Like, that took a toll on you, I feel like, a little bit. Speak to that just a little bit.
Yeah. So, going back and forth once I had because I had expanders and drain tubes. And so I had to go back and forth periodically. And so, commuting back and forth. So there's two parts to that. One of them is that when I was in my 20s, worked under Robert Platt's chain of command, and Robert encouraged me to take out a cancer policy.
Yes.
And I was in my 20s, and I thought, well, I really don't, I really probably don't need this. But he was very adamant that I look at that and take that out. And so thank goodness that I did. I've never used that policy until, this happened. And so it gave me, a comfort knowing there was, some financial health there.
That's right.
Especially traveling so far.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very helpful. So
I know, I remember we talked about that because, one of the biggest concerns for you was, of course, we wanted you to go to MD Anderson, but it is the travel. Number one, it's hard on your body, especially, even if you're well, and then the expense of it. You have to stay there. You have to get there. If your family's going with you, that's extra also too. And so I remember because we actually have the same policy. We've been here about the same amount of time. And we always encourage the younger girls that are coming in to work with us that's so important. And, we find in this generation that they don't see the value or see the importance in that. And so I think that's great that you've been able to use that to show them, because a couple of them have, I think, since then signed up for a policy. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great thing. Also, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, the other thing is that, Van was very generous, and, he flew us there, a couple of times, paid for our flight. And so, I appreciate that. And you can never repay that generosity. So.
No, you can't. And he is, genuinely a kind, generous person. He really is. They're great people to work for.
Yeah, they really are. And one of the times that he flew me out there, it was on a Friday. I had an appointment. Well, our bank Christmas party was that Saturday.
Yes.
And then my surgery was the following Monday. And so I don't think he realized, how much that meant to me, but to be with my bank family and celebrate the holidays,
before you had
before I had to go in for my surgery. And so, I appreciate him doing that for me. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, we did too, because, we like a party. And, we got to have you there to have the party. Also,
I'd like to throw in something about Van as well. Donna's been here she'd been here 30-something years, and they did all that for her. But he also came and encouraged me and told me that to not be concerned about my job, just to go ahead and focus on getting well. And whenever that, I got better, that my job would be here. So that was... he did that for her, but he also did it for me, even though he didn't even know me.
Even though he didn't know you.
This is a great place to work.
It is. It really is. It really is. I wanted to talk just a little bit about, there's just one more thing I wanted to talk about on the cancer policy, on that part. Miss Pam, you're the HR director, of course, so you touch everybody that's here. But has this personal testimony, this personal story kind of changed your view and how you actually talk to the employees coming in, and how you try, if they ask you for advice and counsel on how important it is to have those things in place for yourself?
Yeah. And to me, it's more important to get it right now, because you never know when something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to be prepared. I didn't have a cancer policy, but I do now.
Yeah, you do now.
Yeah.
So did you never have one, or is it because you were changing jobs?
No, I had never had one.
Wow. Okay.
Not a cancer policy.
Not a cancer policy.
Yeah.
And also too, like if you have like a short-term disability policy, those things, all of those different benefits that either your employer offers or that you can, afford to take on yourself. This is the situation that you probably think that you're never going to be the 1 in the 8.
Yeah.
And then you are, and it's those things that you paid for 35 years.
Yeah.
And then it benefited you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it is important, I think, for us to encourage, everybody, but especially the younger ones, that are coming into work, because they're healthy. And, when I was in my 20s, I didn't think about anything like that. And I didn't think that was happening. And the person that I worked for when I came to work here at 19 and 20 encouraged me to get that. And I didn't want that. I didn't think I needed to pay for that. Yeah. I didn't think that was important. I needed that money to do something else. But because of who she was and how much I respected her, I went ahead and did that. And so that's really... I feel like that's part of, how we are as a bank family, that we're close-knit, but also we're trying to encourage each other to take care of yourself personally and take advantage of these benefits when they're offered to you.
Right.
Yeah.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so I wanted to shed a little light locally. So locally here, I know Georgia Regional Hospital, their foundation, they offer discounted screenings for breast cancer, mammograms, things like that. So I would encourage anyone, I mean, at any time, but in the month of October especially, if that is going to be something that is beneficial to you, if that's the time that you need to have it because you can afford it, or even if it's just, you feel like, okay, something's feeling a little different. Maybe I need to take advantage of that. Would you encourage someone to go ahead and take advantage of that opportunity?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
It would be a good thing to do.
And even not just here in our community. I know that in Mobile, and I'm pretty sure on the coast too, because you were going to the doctor on the coast, right?
That's right.
I think most all healthcare facilities in the month of October offer some type of service to get people in, make them aware, help them to try to prevent and find it and detect it early. I wanted to talk just real quick about encouraging other people to always advocate for yourself. So Donna, you made that comment in the beginning, advocating for yourself. And tell us just a little bit about what you mean. We talked about you needing a second opinion. You had a misdiagnosis. And so advocating for yourself doesn't mean that it has to be negative. It just means that you have to be present in your moment and do your own research, make your own self-aware, know what you're going into, and know the questions that you want to ask when you go to the doctor. I won't ever forget, and I think it's been sitting there till just recently, you had this binder about that thick with notes and notebooks and things like that in it. So just speak to that a little bit. Give somebody who's watching today some encouragement on why you thought that was so important.
Well, I think sometimes, we think we don't have the right to question a professional. Whether it be a doctor or a banker or whomever, it's okay to ask questions. And I think sometimes people are not comfortable in that or resist asking questions, or they go home and think, I wish I would have, asked that question. And so for me, I researched a lot and wrote down questions. And my doctor at MD laughed. He's like, I know you got a book. Come on, pull it out. That was the going joke because, I always had questions. And so I think just being confident and not being fearful of being judged, and they don't mind you asking questions. They want you to ask questions and be engaged. And so, there again, God brought me through it, and it was just, I just had peace throughout my journey. I guess, all those prayers that y'all prayed for me worked for sure. Something that Pam and I were talking about earlier, people think, oh, you have cancer and then everything goes back, life goes back to normal. And it doesn't. I think that you find your new norm and you find your purpose. I'll tell I think it's a funny story. So Stacy, one of our coworkers, and I, we went to C-Spire to get our phones upgraded last year. And we were looking at the phones, and they have this, card holder that you can put on your back of your phone. And we were looking at it. I was like, oh, but that's not all my cards. And she said, well, why not? She's like, what all do you keep in there? And one of them was my insurance card, because I did have multiple surgeries, 5 surgeries within 17 months.
Did.
And so, or procedures and surgeries. And so she's like, Donna, that's not normal for everybody to carry around their insurance card on the back of their phone. But for me, it was. And I didn't even realize that I was doing that till she brought it to my attention. So it was just.
Well, you were having to pull it out so much,
right.
Pulling it out like your driver's license.
Absolutely.
And so you're like, well, let me just set it right there so I can get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a funny story. Stacy is always going to ask the question.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, also, too, I know that we're very close-knit here, and, we pride ourselves in that. And I know that both of you have been very open, with your testimony and with your story so that you can help somebody else. If something that you something that you say, helps educate that person or just helps, for me personally, I know whenever you got your misdiagnosis and we were, kind of going through that, I was like, gosh, I might need to call back. Like I might need to get my mammogram redone. It makes you question, do you need to have it again? Do you need to get a second opinion? Are you doing your self-exams like you're supposed to? And is that something that you did? Did you do your self-exams regularly?
I did.
You did? Did you, Miss Pam?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
Yeah. And, paying attention to your body, no matter if it's breast cancer or any other, cancer, it's just, if something, doesn't feel right, then, have it checked.
That's right. Being in tune with your body, like you said, being proactive.
Right.
Being proactive. I did want to touch a little bit on back to what I said about the hospital foundation here in Lucedale, especially just our local community. I know we partner with them with several things, and we actually know the radiologist there. I actually grew up with her. Okay. And just several employees there, and they are truly helpful in that department. And want to, help everybody that comes through. So truly, if that is a service that you need, if you need assistance with that to help you have prevention or to in any way make sure that you're doing all you can to check on yourself, then I encourage everyone to utilize and take advantage of that opportunity in the month of October, in this month that we're shedding light on breast cancer awareness. Yeah. Did I skip anything? Is there anything else that y'all wanted to add?
Yeah. The only thing that I did want to say is when you're going through something like this, I think it's very important to keep a positive attitude. Mm-hmm. And that made a world of difference for me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Pam and I have talked about it, and hopefully get past this year. Maybe we can do it next year. Is we would love to start like a support group. Mm-hmm. For those that are recently diagnosed. So, we can love on them and maybe give them some suggestions or recommendations of things that, work for us. And so that's something that's kind of been on our to-do list.
Yeah, let them know they're not alone.
That's right.
I think that's a wonderful idea. And so both of y'all, I should have said this in the beginning, y'all are both from the Hurley community.
That's right.
So are you talking about locally in your community or here in Lucedale or just, community-wide?
I think community-wide, our communities, Jackson, George County, are very connected. Hurley is very, I lived in Hurley, but always shopped, here. So, and had friends here. So, yeah.
And you've been here with us day to day in the Lucedale office since 2019.
That's correct.
So you've been here several years, and of course you've gotten to know a lot of people and made a lot of relationships here. So that would be a great idea. That would be wonderful. Yeah. And if I can help with that, I would love to. Yeah. Also too, I wanted to ask really quick, tell us just one thing, if you can, one thing that stood out to you, I don't want to say lesson learned, but I know that y'all are both great women of faith. Is there one thing that you feel like the Lord showed you in this journey?
I have to think about that a minute.
I know. That's a surprise question. I didn't tell you that ahead. Well, I thought about that just because I think both of you, just me personally, being able to know you personally like I do, and the girls that work here, and I'm going to say this because it's the truth, and we've talked about this. Both of you have been an inspiration to so many people in both communities, but to so many of the young ladies that work here. And so that's been very heartwarming to me to know that they saw positivity in the both of y'all to come through this journey, come out the other side, to know that you made it through that, and you still continue to encourage people. You still continue to work. You still continue to do your job and to do it at the highest level. Yeah. So I think that's such an attribute to the two of y'all and who you are as a person, but who you are as a professional. So I just was thinking about that this morning whenever I was prepping to get ready. I just thought, well, maybe there's one thing that they wanted to share that they really felt like that through this journey, stood out to them.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to be an encouragement to younger ladies or even older ladies, anybody going through this, and it's helped me to just keep my trust in God even more than I normally did.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Just because he just brought me through and came through the other side.
He did.
Yeah. And same, it's brought me closer to him, and closer to my family. I think my family really showed up for me, and I've always loved and appreciated. We've always been a very close knit family, but I think it it made me appreciate them even more, the things that they did for me. My family, my bank family here, rallied behind me and loved on me and supported me and encouraged me. So, it's not just one thing. I can't just say, one thing. So there was a lot of things, good things, positive things that came out of this journey.
It changes your priorities a little bit.
Yes, it does. For the better.
Yes.
I always refer to mine as a roller coaster ride. I'm still on that ride. Still have one more surgery. So
and that's coming up, right?
That's right, next month. So And
then fingers crossed. We feel like that this will be the last one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm professing it. So yes, the last surgery. So
yeah. Well, I feel like there's so many more things we can talk about, but I think that's all for the day. For anybody that's watching this episode, I want to just be sure that if you take nothing else from this episode, we want to encourage you to be proactive for yourself, to seek prevention, seek guidance, seek medical advice, and seek the advice of people like the two of y'all, survivors, people who have come through that and are well and have the knowledge to help them firsthand. So, that's all for today. Like and subscribe, follow us, and we'll see y'all next time. Have a great day.